And we're live. How's it going, Matt?
Good. What's going on, man? How you
Nothing.
been?
Yeah, I've been good. I've been good. So, Sean Morris and Matt Kish here live in the Train Studio for another weekly hobby hangout. I'm going to be building. Matt's going to be terraining, I guess. Yeah.
Tufting? What's
It's tough. Yeah, tufting's a verb, I think.
these
So,
guys right here?
yeah, nice, nice. Okay, definitely one of my favorite companies right there. So, Matt's just telling me that he just got in his gamer's grass tufts in from Portugal. So that's awesome. I'm glad that those came in. Sorry they took so long, but I think that's the postal system right now. So,
Oh yeah.
um, Joe and I were just having this conversation. He's mailed something in state and it's just like it's taking weeks to get there. It's like within Illinois. Like, I
Oh
took
boy.
took me 26 days to get something from Colorado, but it took 4 days for my package to get to Colorado. I did a trade with a player there, and yeah, it took me 22 days to get mine. So like it doesn't even make any
Yeah.
sense. It doesn't make any sense. So.
The U.S.
Um,
Postal Service, man.
yeah, well, I think you guys are just trying to get all your ballots going all over the place, so they're high priority over everything else. So,
Yep.
um, yeah, so Matt and I are going to jump into working on some stuff. I'm just going to slide over here to the command deck here, so you can see who we are and learn about us if you're just joining us for the first time. So, I am going to be working on a Patreon project, but I'm just going to be doing some brick laying, so it's not going to be a polished tutorial of any kind, but you can definitely check out the project I'm going to show you tonight. It is a foam project, so we're up for the first time on the Foam Modelers Facebook page. So if you guys are just joining us for the first time, thanks for having us there. And if we're not able to be there, you can take us down later. But I think it's right on point with what you guys are showing there. We're also live on the Legion pages as well as the Legion terrain, and that's because Matt is working on some Legion stuff. Matt, maybe you can hold up what you're working on there so we can show the fine folks. Thanks for the thumbs up. I'm not sure who's in chat, but thank you. Okay, Padme, like it. I love the
Yeah,
color
but
too.
pretty much the whole army. I'm putting tufts on everyone. They finally
Right,
came in, varnished everything today,
right,
and
right.
the other thing that I'm working on is gluing ARC troopers to flight stands,
Mm,
which is
excellent.
not easy, but
Well,
it
I did make
takes
the
some
stream
patience.
not kid friendly tonight, so if you happen to let a couple swear words slip there, we're
Okay,
okay. We're
appreciate that.
covered on that. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I've going here is some ATRTs. Um,
Nice.
I I don't think I'm gonna have some time to actually paint them tonight, but at least I have them primed and ready to go. So
Right. That's awesome.
we'll see. But yeah, I'm pretty pumped with how this army's coming together, and I have a game scheduled in person on Saturday with a buddy. So I haven't played in person since the pandemic started. So
Okay.
I am super super pumped, and I haven't actually played with my own personal clone models yet. So
Okay. So
I hear
you're
they're
excited
good,
about
but I don't know
that.
anything about this.
I mean, they're good for now. I mean, at some point the hammer's got to drop because if it doesn't, then everyone's just playing clones. So,
Oh, for
I mean,
sure.
yeah, I think they're trending up right now, and you know what that happens in Legion. We've seen it time after time. If you trend up too long, you get the book thrown at you, aka the errata. Um, no, that's awesome. I'm gonna slide over to the table, and if that's okay, and then we'll get into some work, and then
Absolutely.
I'll do some camera swapping here, so you guys can get Matt close ups, and this will be a Matt close up, and this will be a Sean close up, and this will be a combo shot. So let me slide over to the table, show you what I'm working on.
For sure. I'll flip over to my work table here as well.
Let us know. Make sure that you guys can hear us coming through loud and clear. If we are not, or if we're too quiet, just let us know and we'll make some adjustments. So I think I'm coming in probably loud enough for you guys to hear me. Okay, so I am working on a building that I've been working on here. It's foam. Let me just grab some of the pieces. And I'm building the building a little unorthodox. I'm actually building it in panels right now. So this is the back panel. Let me just see if I can give you guys a little bit more of a zoom in here. Maybe that'll be a bit better. I think you guys can see that there. So yeah, so I'm just working on the panels. This is the back one here. These flat pieces that don't have brick are just going to, they're going to actually get some like designs carved in. So that's why they're kind of like that. Got a little bit of a wood panel here. And what we're doing is we're building on a combination of polystyrene as well as the extruded foam. So that's kind of the difference between those two spots right now. Additionally, I have the floor here again built on a polystyrene base, and then it's done up with the tile. So these are all hand cut using the Proxxon cutter, and then they're all glued in into place. Right here, this is the piece that accepts the chimney section that I've just been working on. This piece took me a while. As you can see, it's got a ton of bricks. I was really kind of happy with how that came out. And then if I just put those two pieces together real quick and then turn that up towards the camera. I know it's pink on pink, but you guys can kind of see how that's starting to take shape there. So that's
unbelievable.
It's just been a lot of bricks. So my pile is getting a little smaller. I started with this and it was kind of heaped over, and so I have slowly been putting these on piece by piece by piece. Got a few other pieces as well, and you guys can follow this project on the Terrain Studio Patreon, so you guys can check that out if you want a little bit more detail. That's just an interior little storage area, so I got that done. I've been working on getting the door section done, so you can just see kind of how I start with the panels of foam, and then the brick gets laid on after. So I'm just putting in some of the abutments and some of the door trim. The door itself is actually built out of balsa, so these are little teeny strips that I put together. It's just, I like to do that as opposed to carve a single panel. I just feel like if you build it kind of how you would construct it in real life, it looks a little bit nicer. And then I just did a door to match on the back side, so that's actually two doors that I had to build separate. It's not one that goes all the way through. That would have been too smart. No, really, I wasn't 100% sure where I wanted the door height when I started, so that's why I did it like that. And then this is another inside panel here, and that just has a couple archways carved in. So it's been a lot of bricks. I'm not even sure how many, but I'm going to estimate around 8,000 when I'm finished. Just based on some
questions for you.
Yeah, just based on some loose calculations of like what a row is, and basically the length and then how many bricks per row times how many rows, and then I basically have to do 4 walls, and then inside and out, so it's 8. Then I had a few extra pieces like this staircase here that I've built as well. So yeah, probably around 8,000. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to. Let's just slide real quick here. Matt and I can switch cameras. So I'm just going to pop Matt in the scene there, and then I'm going to just hop over. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Let's put Matt back in the spotlight, and then I'm just going to pop there and work from the distance. So go ahead, Matt, and show the people and explain kind of what's going on your end.
So I completed up to a certain level that I wanted on my jetpack arc squad here, and I actually painted up Echo, spent some extra time on him, and I'm using a different model, so I don't know if that's like super legal or whatever, but I like the way the non-crouching one looks better, at least for the jetpack. And so he'll be my squad leader for this unit. And I think he's going to be really fun, you know, for what his stats are and what he brings to the unit and everything. And super glowing. I wish I had some accelerant. I've never really used accelerant, but for these, I would definitely use super glue and accelerant on them.
I use it religiously. I really don't even build a model without it, to be perfectly honest.
Well, this one here actually is sitting nicely, so I'm surprised. I'm gonna watch this very closely. But
Um,
yeah, definitely super glued for these. Um, but yeah, these I really like how these flight stands look and everything. Although I've seen some 3D printed smoke, like exhaust fume, like plumes,
yeah.
which look really cool too. So
No, I don't disagree. I've seen them. I think Joe's actually thinking about getting some of those for his, and
nice.
yeah, so he's been talking about them. I'm just doing a little correction here. I noticed that when I glued this before, it kind of slumped over a little bit, so I'm just carving it out, and then I'm gonna re-glue it real quick here.
Yeah, so these Gamers Grass Tufts have adhesive on them already, so
Right.
you don't necessarily have to use glue. And this is amazing because normally I'll just use PVC or super glue or whatever, PVA. And
Yeah.
this is great. Super, super convenient, time saver here for sure. And then it allows you to kind of like fit where you want the tuft a little bit more before you put it down. You kind of just jab it down here and then you're done. And if you don't like it, you can peel it off, So, that's another, I think, cool thing about them, that you can peel them off and, you reuse them or whatever for a different project if you can't get them, from Portugal in time for what you need it for. So definitely cool. I'm really liking how this color scheme's looking. I don't know if you guys can see this, but
I'm gonna bring it up for you in a second. Speaking of PVA, I'm just gonna use my small quantity jug of PVA here. The 3 liter format. So
nice.
just gonna pop a little bit of that there, and then I will swap the camera over for you, Matt, so that you can show us what it is that you got. Just bear with me, guys, because I'm going to be swapping the cameras back for it. Go ahead, Matt. You're now live on screen.
How's this coming through?
It's a little shadowed, but there we go. It's a bit better.
Yeah, my unfortunately my ring light burnt out today.
Really?
Yeah, which I'm really surprised about. Might be a little bit better.
I've seen that a couple companies have recently come out with some new ring lights. I know Elgato just came out with a new ring light. People have been having a couple reviews up. I'm not 100% sure if it's been out long enough to get any longevity tests, but
Yeah.
they do make nice stuff. So, but that's kind of crazy that burnt out already. Like you just literally got that.
Yeah, so I'm kind of surprised. I don't know what happened to it. So,
But that was an Amazon purchase, right? So
yeah.
I don't know if they have any sort of a way to do any customer reviews on that or feedback and see, because
Yeah, I'll have to reach out to the seller and see what the deal is.
yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
We do have a few people hanging out with us in chat tonight, so if you guys are new here or just coming for the first time or want to say hi, please jump in. We love interacting with you guys. If you guys have questions, if you're interested to know exactly what we're building or what we're working on, I'm just going to bounce back and forth between Matt and myself here as we're working on some stuff. So I was just doing a quick correction, and then I'm actually going to just be laying some brick down. So I'm going to try to hope to get a good portion of this. We usually go hour and a half or so, and just basically the format is sit, chat, work, answer questions. So we're on standby waiting for them.
Yeah, I love the conversation and chat. It's always cool to hear what you guys are all working on while everyone's in quarantine, and what you're looking forward to in the future once quarantine's kind of lifted.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep us on this small cams here. I'm just going to zoom myself in a little bit so people can kind of see a little bit closer what I'm doing. But please jump in chat and let us know what it is you want to see, and we can zoom up, or Matt, when you get something cool or want to show something, just let me know. So
Yeah, I
so
mean,
we'll go
right
ahead.
now it's I guess I could talk about how I'm designing like where the tufts go. So for my bases, I did a Umbara theme from the Clone Wars TV show. There was like I think 3 episodes in a row where the 501st is like kind of battling these aliens and stuff, and it's kind of like this night world, and it's dark, and so I pretty much went for a black base, and then I did some kind of like blue um, dry brushing over white to kind of get I don't know, kind of like a shadowy look to it. I didn't go too crazy with it, but I bought these alien tufts, and I'm really enjoying how they're looking with the color combination and everything. And so what I did was is I put down these like reddish orange kind of like dots that you see in the episode, like through the landscape and everything. And there's all sorts of kind of like red fauna and stuff, which I want to figure out at some point how I can maybe make that out of green stuff or whatever, and maybe put it on my vehicle bases. But so what I'm doing is seeing what the shapes are of the tufts, and then basically kind of like wrapping them around where these red dots are not located. And so pretty much the whole base has something going on, and keeps it a lot more interesting.
Let me ask you this, Matt. Did you get, if you look at the back of the package, did you get the ones that are referred to as wild?
I did.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar with Gamers Grass, I use a lot of it here in studio. And one of the reasons that I like the company primarily is because a lot of other tough companies, not to say they don't make quality product, but they're so uniform when you get them. And they come and they all have the same shape. So what Matt's describing is the wild layouts are actually non-uniform in structure. And as a result, you do have a really nice looking tuft that actually can contour and take the shape of your landscape. And so when you're doing that, he's exactly right. Sometimes you can just select the right tuft and it slides in place. Sometimes you'll pick a tuft and you'll just sort of put that down, and some of your other features may be defined around that, depending on the order of operation. But I always choose wild. I never choose any of the uniform shapes just because I don't feel that they fit very nicely. However, the tiny tufts that they make are pretty uniform in shape, but they're so small. They work as really nice accent and transition pieces. And so what you can do is you can really feather out your grass or create kind of that rough fringe as you transition from ground right up into to large grass areas or large tuft areas. It's really cool. They have a really unique range of product.
Yeah, what I found with other companies that are a little bit more uniform, like you were saying, I was ending up having to kind of like cut them into the shapes that I wanted, and because like, hey, maybe you want a more smaller pieces, so you're taking the bigger pieces and you're having to chop them up and everything. So it just takes a little bit more time, and it doesn't look as natural, I think, when you cut it like that.
No, agreed. So what I'm doing right here, I'm just going to slide over on the camera. I'll show you guys a little bit more close up here. And then let me zoom in. I think that's probably about as close as I can get on this one. So what I'm doing right now is I'm coming in and I'm starting to lay my base layers. And I just take the bricks, and I have these uniform. They're about 7 mil by 3 mil bricks. And then I cut them into some into halves, some into thirds. So I leave like 1/3 small and 2/3 large. And then some of them I leave full. And so what I usually do is lay about 3 or 4 rows at a time. And then I just start creating an offset and a stagger as I go along the bottom. I like to build up small sections. I don't typically build all the way across. Because if I do that and I start to go askew, then what ends up happening is I'll have a row and it really gets off track, or there's an easier chance for it to get off track. So I like to build small sections, and then I kind of work my way across, and then I work my way up, and by that way I'm able to keep the lines quite uniform. So you can see the pieces here. It's 100% not perfect, and it's actually intentional not to be. So I leave gaps and I make purposeful gaps within the walls. But overall, you can see that it does have a really linear pattern to it as it runs across. And this one actually has a chimney here, so it actually does a wraparound. It's a little hard to see pink on pink, but as you can see, it is 3-dimensional in shape. So that's kind of my approach to it. Just jump back.
So Shawn, when you're laying those bricks in, do you kind of have a pattern in mind, or are you kind of like just kind of fitting them in as you go? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so I'm 100% not trying to emulate any pattern at all. And so typically what I'll do is I'll try not to lay any, I kind of have some rules for the pattern, but not a pattern. So it's like a negative pattern in the sense that I try not to lay 3 full bricks in a row. And I also try not to create 3 small subsection bricks together. So I won't do 3 like thirds together. I won't do like 3 halves together. So typically it'll be like 2 sections, 1 full brick, two sections, then maybe 2 full bricks, then maybe repeat that pattern again, then go back to the other one. So as long as I never have 3 sections or 3 full, that's my pattern. And then I just randomly grab, and then it ends up being basically, like I said, a non-pattern.
Nice.
Yep. So I just have some rules that I follow, but there's certainly nothing that tells me I have to have it in any particular pattern. And then in addition to that, I actually have these squares. And so these are the equivalent of 3, it's a little hard to see, but these are the equivalent of 3 full bricks all together. With no lines in between, and then I sporadically place those within the wall as well, just to kind of create the full pattern. I'll hold this up a little closer to the camera so you guys can see what I mean. I'm not using my zoom camera tonight, so it's a little bit more. So there you go. You guys can see the squares versus the small bricks. So yeah, that's kind of
keeps it interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It's designed to be a 100% randomized pattern. So, but humans by nature have a tendency to repeat. So I have to, sometimes I'll pull a brick and be like, oh, no, that one doesn't look, or I can see that it's got too much of a uniformity to it. So let me change that up. And another thing I can do as well, although these are quite uniform in shape, I did put all the bricks into a box with rocks, and I shook and weathered all the rocks. So some of the foam is a little flatter than others, and so not only is there a pattern moving across horizontally, there's also depression depths and changes in how flat and how robust or thick some of the foam is. So if you look at the wall from all angles, it's 3-dimensional. Even within the stones, there's some are protruding a little bit more than others. And then if I rotate the bricks from side to side, I can actually change the depth a little bit as well there, because the foam has a tendency to have a little bit more crush potential one way versus another. So there's lots of ways for me to take really all the bricks are the same size, but within that, by cutting or flattening or rotating the orientation, I've been able to create a very unique pattern.
Cool.
And yeah, I'm gonna hold this up, Matt, so you can see how. Again, just go right to the camera. So, can you see that brick on the end of my knife tip?
Yep.
So I'm laying lots of those individually by hand.
Wow.
So
you have patience, sir.
Yeah, it's a time consuming process. It's a little bit therapeutic in the sense that most terrain building is, but not only that, it's like it takes a while really to get anywhere. But then before long, you're like, oh, geez, I got all those down. So there is some
definitely rewarding for you once you finish a wall.
When you finish a panel, it's like I finished an entire terrain piece. It is actually quite satisfying.
Yeah, it's like creating a 3,000 piece jigsaw puzzle or something.
It is, yeah, with no instructions, much like the G models that you're working on right now.
Just winging it.
Yeah, it's and you can't put down a lot of glue either, because you try not to float the bricks, because when you're putting them down and you're kind of pressing in and amongst the bricks, you have to be cognizant that you're not pushing or changing the orientation of the bricks that you've already laid down. So I can't just like slam a whole bunch down together and then start pushing them around here and there. It's actually kind of delicate. I have to barely thumb them into place and then just give them a little bit of a tap down with the knife. And so there's a fine balance between how much glue I can put down and how much and how little glue I can put down, because of course I need them to have adhesion.
Yeah.
The ends are a little challenging because I'm building it in sections right now. I have to account for where the panels wrap around. So when the bricks, you've seen bricks on the corners of buildings, right? Where on one section they'll go around and then they'll interlock with the others. Well, because I'm not building the walls together, I kind of have to account for some of that spacing. And so some of them I've sort of just truncated it off, and then I'm going to have to go back and either eliminate some bricks or add some in, or just work on my rounding of the corners just to make it look a little bit more uniform. So I'm actually getting the inside done of this because Jace, a painter here in the studio, he's going to be painting, but I told him it's really difficult for me to keep building this building without starting to get some pieces glued together. And so I'm getting the inside done, and then he's gonna just get the inside painted out to a finished product, and then I'm going to complete the rest of the building, and then we'll paint the outside when we're finished. So it's a little bit of a unique building because you don't typically build buildings inside and out.
Sure.
It's not really something that a lot of people do. So, but this is a pretty special project. So we're going all out. Make sure it looks good.
Yeah, that's definitely a unique thing. So have you done something similar to that in the past?
Like insides and outsides?
Yeah.
Yeah, different scales though. Yeah, different scales. So
I see.
a lot less detailed on the inside. So I've done a lot of 15 mil, both insides and out, but not really anything to this scale here. So this is 32 mil, so it's a little bit different. There's a little bit more room for detail, but as such, it's a little bit more work because you can't hide things within the small scale.
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay. It's been fun.
So one thing I'm finding with the arcs is the ones that are designed to be kind of standing on the ground don't really balance well on the flight stand. And then the ones that are supposed to be on the flight stands balance a lot better. So if anyone hasn't assembled theirs yet and you have more than one box, might be a hobby choice. I kind of wanted each one to look different. So I pretty much have two of the guys that are supposed to be standing on these low flight stands, and they definitely feel more awkward than the second one that I put on that kind of glued on in, I don't know, 30 seconds. This one I really need to probably hold for a few minutes at least.
I know all about trying to make them. I haven't done anything in the last I don't know how many releases based on box directions or box art and changing everything, and it's a bit of a challenge, that's for sure.
Yep.
But I like it, and I'm all about the uniqueness, and if I can have something look something different from somebody else's models, then I think that's cool too.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a hobby game, so have fun with it.
Yeah, no, agreed. All right, definitely not the fastest hobby thing I've ever done is lay these bricks down. So, but you can see I've got a few bricks down. So I've got maybe like an inch by maybe an inch and a half by 2 inch section done. So it's a process. It's definitely a process.
So do you have like a I don't know, this is for some type of train board diorama type of thing? Do you have like a blueprint that you make first for it? Like how do you plan out the whole
Yeah,
project?
it's pretty loosely planned. Like really, I had the rough like idea in terms of like the roof line of this building is a little bit unique because it actually has. Let me just show this way. It actually has like a mezzanine, so there's a walkway over here, and then the roof sort of comes down. It's truncated and then runs this way. So I defined the rough roof shape. The rough building shape, but the actual details and like what the wall looks like as I'm building it, I do that organically as I'm making it because I feel that I'm able to kind of be a little bit more creative if I don't try to like I'm not modeling this after anything, so it's a 100% unique design.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I never get really too married to an idea. I have like a rough. I always had the idea it's going to have a hearth in it. What's that going to look like? Well, it was determined as I was building. Originally, I had the mantle up a bit higher. I didn't like that, so I dropped it down. I'm going to do a wooden mantle up here instead. I'm going to do a little bit of a beast head mounted, just looking kind of the piece. I always wanted to do a staircase. I didn't know if I was going to make it like this. Originally, it was just going to slope down, but then I decided, you know what, let's have a bend and have the staircase come off to the side. So a lot of these pieces are within the overall design, but they get tweaked and changed as I go. I wasn't originally going to do wood at the top, but I decided that if I did full brick ends, it might be a bit too much. And really what I wanted to do is bring wood rafters to the inside. And so what I did is I created these viewports here so that when the building's assembled, you can actually see into the building through the rafters and see the floor without taking the roof off.
That's a
So
neat
that's
idea. Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to show the interior without having to take the roof off every single time to see that. So yeah, so just those little things as I'm designing. Really, I like to organically build out the look. So
Cool.
don't get too married to it. And then and because it's just kind of on the fly design. I mean, obviously, once you start down a pathway, you kind of you know what you're doing, but I just feel like there's always room to make adjustments, and because everything's scratch built, it's really easy to change. It's like, oh no, I'm going to cut this a little bit thinner, make that a little bit thicker. I'm going to add this piece. I'm going to add that piece. I'm not building from a kit, and so really I can do whatever I want. And I think when my approach to with the models is the same thing, right? I have the pieces that are provided for me. There's a suggested pattern, a suggested way to put it together, but by no means am I locked into doing just that and only that. So that's kind of been my approach.
Cool. Yeah, I really like how your BX droids are coming out.
Yeah, they've been super fun. I actually did some painting and I got sort of a test model now complete on that, and I got a little bit of a kind of a rusty orange going on with them. So, and I thought I would bring that color into my. I don't really have any color brought into my army as of yet, but I thought that with the Staps, the B2s, the specialists, and the BXs, I thought there was enough room for me now to bring that kind of orange in. So, like, I might do my security droids up more of an as the bulk of the color being the orange,
Cool.
just so they stand out a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of did that with this like bluish gray on my arcs. I kind of copied some pictures of Echo and Fives in some artwork that I found.
Right.
Some of the artwork I found was a little bit more gray, and then so I kind of stuck with the bluish gray, and I really
Right.
like how it came out. Touch that.
So Matt and I were talking about he's putting the Gamers Grass Tufts down and he's not using any adhesive on them. They're actually adhesive backed, so you can actually just take them right off the waxy surface that they come on and stick them down. I typically PVA the bottom of mine, but I also do some adhesive over my bases when I'm done as well, so that sort of solidifies them a bit more. You can seal them in with finishes as well, and so there's lots of ways to do it. So, but Matt indicated he's really wanting to get these ready for his game, so I understand. Less steps now, and obviously if you have issues down the road, if any come unstuck or whatever, you just make that, fix it real quick and stick it back down.
Oh yeah, I'm all about convenience right now, for sure.
One of the things I gotta keep checking is I always just check and make sure like that I'm kind of moving this in a linear pattern with the rest of the wall. It's really easy to push or condense the bricks too much in one direction. So I'm always just, that's a nice thing too, is once you get them down, you can kind of use your finger and sort of manipulate and shift some of them, because the PVA stays wet long, and I can shift and manipulate. I don't want it to be perfect ever, but I just want to kind of have that nice linear pattern, or I should say a nice horizontal pattern along the wall.
Cool. So how was your cast the other night? I haven't had a chance to listen yet.
It was actually good. Yeah, it was really fun. We were slated to have Alex on. There was a little bit of a scheduling conflict, so we had to pivot sort of, and we had been talking, Joe and I, a lot about Rebels, and so we decided to do a show on Rebels. But the show was fantastic. We had there was a crowd of over 30 people, the entire cast. We went nearly, I think we went over 2.5 hours. Just really got into some great discussion. Chat was fantastic. They were in, just chiming in, any questions. We had a lot of new players in as well, so that was really good. It was great, and we've had a lot of comments on the video afterwards as well. So we've really been trying to keep up with chat on that. So
awesome, man. I mean, that's great. I like seeing the new stuff coming out for the older factions, to see, get some new life into them. It's always nice to try to play the new shiny stuff, but
yeah, you don't and I think that a lot of the new stuff is making the old stuff. It's a couple years old, but it's just making a lot of the old stuff maybe potentially have some new tricks, new approaches, new ways to kind of think about how to use items that you may not have used, or units that you might not have used before or ever, for that matter. So
yeah, I love how that happens, especially if just a new upgrade card or something comes out. It can totally change how a unit works, within your army.
No, fully agree.
And who doesn't like Mandalorians, right?
That's accurate. Yeah, no, there's a lot to be explored right now.
Yeah, I also think it depends on what the person's individual play style is, and I really think now that the game's really flushed out, I think you can pretty much design and find units that fit your play style.
Right. No, I agree. There's a lot to be explored. There's a lot of personality, I guess, within armies. You can kind of really define that. I'm going to just for funsies, I'm going to grab this camera. I'm going to do Keep going. I'm going to put you on camera here, Matt. I'm going to make a
Sure.
slight adjustment. I'm going to bring mine in a little bit closer because I think it would be nice if folks were able to see a little bit of the pattern I'm working on. The non-pattern pattern. Oops, that's not the camera that I wanted. Let's go back to Matt. There we go. Oh, that looks cool. I got you up on the big screen there.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. So this is my Echo. I put a bunch of time into him. I'm really happy how he's coming out. A few touch-ups here and there that I can work on, but I wanted to get him on the table. And one of the things I do, especially when I'm preparing for a tournament, is make sure that the units that I'm playing with. I hate playing with unpainted models, but so what I try to do is get them on the table with a certain level of paint job, and then if I'm definitely playing them for a tournament coming up, I'll put extra paint time into them and really make them pop and put more details and shading and highlights and stuff on them. So, especially character models. Yeah, I'm really happy with how he came out. You can really customize these guys too. I mean, I did different colors on the jetpacks. They have the little cloaks and stuff. You can paint those differently. I went ahead and I tried to emulate the Battlefront 2, one of the Battlefront 2 skins, and make it 501st. It's like the neon green one. But so it's a similar pattern, but with the blue and black. I don't know if you can see that on here, Shawn.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah, it's coming through.
Cool.
Let's just try to figure out a way to get this camera to set here. So just keep going. I'm gonna just slide over and grab another camera stand here.
Sure. So yeah, one of the things about this army, what I tried to do was I wanted everything to be a uniform color scheme and be 501st. And so what I did was I pretty much did patterns on every single unit, which was pretty tedious, but I think, when you look at the army as a whole, it looks really, really cohesive. And then when you're playing, you can still pick them out on the battlefield, whether phase 1s or phase 2s. Like I did the Ahsoka helmets, so those stand out really easily. Like the phase 1s, I did, like this squad here has their whole arm painted blue on some of them, and then I left the rest of it, fairly basic with just the kind of like the Mohawk stripe. So everyone has their own preference. I mean, I've seen people that do different color shoulder pads and stuff, which I actually did for my Stormtroopers when the game first came out, just because Stormtroopers are kind of just basic, where I feel like the clones have so many cool schemes and stuff that you can paint on them, versus just basic Stormtroopers. So that's my paint scheme for these guys. I'm really excited to get them actually playing on the table. And if you paint them a lot, your dice roll better. It's scientifically proven.
Let me just see this, Matt, and tell me. Oh, you guys can see that.
Oh wow, yeah. It's like
So let me
magnified.
Yeah. I just brought my camera in really close, so I'll probably have to back it up a little bit to work. But I just thought I'd go in and just go in and really quickly show. Let me grab this one here for an example. So this is the fireplace here. Let me just zoom out a little bit. I'm zoomed right in, so there we go. So you guys can see that sort of what I meant by the repetition of short ones, long ones, the squares, the alternating of the patterns in there, and just kind of how I've moved that through. The little pock marks, that's just me pressing it down with my knife. But when I do the the Mod Podge and black paint sealer, a lot of that disappears, so it really actually fills those in. But it does create a little bit of a depression within the bricks too, and it does add a little bit of character. So you can see what that looks like. And then, another example would just be like the stairs for what I was talking about, same sort of repetitive pattern. What I've done here is the top of the stairs, I've actually cut a piece of foam veneer, and I'm not sure if you guys can see how thin that is, but I'll put a knife there just for scale. So that piece right there, I've actually cut that on the foam cutter. So that's actually a strip of continuous foam. And I just lay it over the top just to really create a nice seal and a nice finished look. And I just ran that down the stairs here just to sort of seal that off, and so you didn't have any exposed brick, because without it, this section doesn't have it yet, and you can just sort of see the brick tops. It looks a lot nicer when you get the veneer laid on there. And so yeah, really tonight what I'm doing is I'm working on getting just another section. So here I am. I generally get into a section and I lay these squares down, and the squares really help me to define the rest of the workspace. So how long or short I need to make these pieces to sort of fit in the gaps. I usually fill those in first, and then I start working my way back. And you can see here that I've just purposely left off some bricks because this is going to be wrapping around to an adjoining piece. In fact, it's going to wrap around and join onto this piece right here. And this is the backside, and this is going to mirror up with that. And then I'm just going to wrap the pattern right around. So yeah, so I'm just accounting for that because it's not attached at this moment. So this is another cool thing too. I think I showed you this before, Matt, but this is the floor that I did. And I think you guys can see in there. Do you see how I've sort of like added a texture to the foam itself to give the floor tiles a rock look?
Yeah.
You can see the depressions in there. Yeah, so you do that. You do that with the stone. So really, you actually use stone to create stone texture. It's kind of cool how that works. But and then what you can do is you can roll some tinfoil over afterwards if you want to create a few more depressions, because you can see the floor is relatively flat. It's even, so there's not a lot of undulation in that. Versus the walls, the walls themselves have quite a bit more. Let the camera catch up here. Quite a bit more of a depression within them. So that's just achieved by rolling some foil over those. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on. And then this chimney stack, I showed you this before, but it's probably a little bit nicer to show you in this orientation here. Just fits right in there, and that's kind of what the inside of the building's starting to look like.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's been a fun project.
Are you allowed to share with us more about this project and what it's for, or is it still kind of?
I unfortunately I can't on our live streams because this is really a Patreon project. I've done all the how-tos on there, and so I don't mind working on here. But like honestly, it's something that I only share there, but all the content does become public after said release. So I just out of privacy and respect to the patrons, I generally don't share that. So not trying to be like exclusive or elitist or anything, but it is kind of what they one of the perks that they have. So I will say it is for a gaming company. I will say it's a pretty fantastic game. And I think you guys before too long might see it out there in the nether regions and being used by the gaming company itself. So
very cool. So yeah, if you're into terrain making, like super detailed, awesome terrain making, it's a good Patreon to subscribe to.
There's a ton of tutorials on there reference like a lot of the weathering techniques, a lot of the mud techniques. I've done a lot of snow tutorials, so it is a lot more. It's probably a lot more like terraform and like landscape type things versus builds, but there's quite a bit of building on there too. Like, I do try to showcase and work with a lot of products for people. So, like for example, the company that the product that Matt's using right now is actually a sponsor of the Train Studio. Matt's not using that because of that, but they make fantastic stuff, and so I've been a user of their product for many years now, like going on over 6-7 years now. I've been using their stuff, so it's really fantastic. I put everyone onto it that I can, and I think honestly the best testimonial is getting some yourself and then just trying it out.
Oh
It's
yeah, for sure.
it's like an easy button, and I'm not trying to suggest that what Matt's doing is easy and he didn't put a lot of work into the models. He did, but I think you'll agree, Matt. It's like a pretty simplistic step that ups the quality of the finished product
Oh,
immensely.
it looks like it adds like 20% to like the completeness look of the model for sure, if not more. But it's funny that you're like, oh, it. I didn't like set this up where like we're talking about you having it being sponsored, because I pretty much ordered this stuff like before we even started doing the hobby hangout together.
Yep, that's fair. But I would recommend it to you whether you were a patron, whether you were a friend, whether you just asked me a question. I unequivocally have only ever suggested that to people since I've been onto the company. So just this week, Joe and I were talking about he's doing some Rohan stuff, and they make some battle ready bases. I'm not sure if you saw that when you were poking around on there.
I did see that, yeah.
They don't make Legion sizes, which is unfortunate, but man, would that ever be fantastic if they got into that realm. But I think the bases are a little bit harder to source because kind of how Legion bases are with the beveled edge.
Yep.
And so they're a little harder to get. But man, War Machine, Warhammer, Lord of the Rings, they got you covered for that for sure. If you're looking to do one, I'd say probably 3 steps up from what Matt's doing, not in quality wise, but I just mean like you're eliminating base texture, you're eliminating painting, you're eliminating sealing, you're eliminating grass tufts. You literally glue your model to the base, and it's a scenic base, fantastically done.
Oh yeah, yeah. I saw some pictures, and yeah, it's it makes yourself look really good really fast. I don't know what the price point is on it, but it's if you're looking for speed and super high quality, I would definitely look into that. It looks awesome.
Right. So I'm just gonna start on the other side of this little abutment. As I said, these flat pieces here, they're gonna get some carvings in those, and so they're not actually gonna get a brick. I was looking for different ways to break up the monotony of just doing plain brick. Actually, let me grab something else too, Matt. If you want to just talk to the folks, I wanted to show you guys. I'm going to show you as much as I can on here, but I'm going to show you our color palette.
Yeah, and if there's anyone in chat that has questions, comments, we love the feedback.
This is, and I've shown this before, but we might have some new folks because we are in a couple new places. But this is actually and I did this for the August tutorial actually, so you guys could, if you're interested, I did a full how-to on how to make this base. But so this is our test piece. This is what our landscape is going to look like. So kind of that, not quite Mars-esque, but definitely more arid desert landscape. And ironically, not so much. I've actually covered this with Gamers Grass House as well. So these are let me zoom right in because these are, I'm not sure if you've seen these, Matt, when you're looking around, but these are one of the ones that on the site I never initially picked up because I wasn't quite sure how I'd go about using them, but they're called the Spiky Tufts, and they're these ones, and so you can see they're really sort of feathery in nature, and I really like these. So this is the 2 types of feathery tufts, and then these ones are the tiny tufts, and they're aptly named because of the size. You can see just like how small those are, and one sleeve of these would be more than enough to base an entire army. You get so many on there. So yeah, they're really, really tiny. Like I'll just put my finger next to those and you can just see how small those things are. But yeah, so this is our landscape here. It's got the cracked earth. Maybe I'll just go to the large camera here just for a second. Showing you this, it's probably be a lot easier. There you go. You can see that, eh, Matt?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so you can see kind of the cracked earth that we've done here, and really the sort of derivative for this is what was driving the structure for the building. So we decided that, you know what, this mud packed or dry arid land here might make cool bricks, and so we thought, oh, you know what, this is the material they might have used to sort of coat the bricks or to at least use the as the what do you refer to that as the mortar
Yeah.
the mortar, yeah, for the bricks, and then so some of the rock would be kind of these brown stones, and so we came up with this as our palette, and so it's a really earthy palette. Yeah, so just something fun. So that's really just a test piece of the brick, and you can see that when we put the Mod Podge in, it does actually act like a mortar, so you can see it down into the crevices. And so this is our color palette here. This is actually the material I'm going to be using for the roof. So it's sort of that terracotta tile, and so
nice.
this will be painted up to be very similar to the ground texture. So that's another material that I'm going to be working with on here. So, but I really like this because it's a different type of brick. It's not your standard, gray stone or something similar, or red brick. It's a really earthy mix, and so I think it'll look good when it gets into a little bit of a larger format, as you would see with this build. So. All right, well, let's slide. I'm going to slide Matt into the camera here for a while. That's not the one I wanted again. There we go. Awesome. All right, Matt, take it away. I'm just going to start laying some more bricks down here. Actually, I had a friend comment. I'll leave you with this. He asked me if I'd ever considered a career in bricklaying, and I said no, because I envision this just being worse in real scale.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit more labor intensive.
For sure.
Yeah, so here you can see the Arc Squad on the bases. I don't know exactly how I feel about the ones that don't have the jumping legs, but version, everyone's feet all in the same direction. But yeah, I really like how they really kind of changed what you could do with these. And when I saw them previewed, I was super pumped. And then seeing them actually in person is really rewarding for me. So I'm happy about it.
Do you care, Matt? Like when you go to a competition or something, are you trying to actively have your things look different from other people? Do you try unique paint schemes? Are you more in canon? Do you care? Do you get inspired by different things? If your models, if, for example, you're doing a 501st paint job, but obviously your bases are going to be different. For me, one of the things that really drives me is to make my stuff look different. And I don't so much do it because I'm not a painter like you, but I really try to bring my skill, my hobby, in terms of what the bases look like or how I can scratch build things for them. What's your if you had one thing that you need to do, what is it? Is it the paint? Is it the uniqueness? Is it the basing?
That's if it was one thing.
What I'm gonna be. This is gonna be Matt Kish, unique because it's what?
I would say a really, really cool paint job, because I think that is gonna, one, your stuff's gonna look different on the table, and then two, I think because you're gonna spend 10 hours or something over 2 days, like 20 hours over 2 days or something, staring at these models all day. You want them to look good. But no, I really feel like, if you can make them look kind of like what you envisioned, and then really try to like paint up to like the best level that you can, you're going to enjoy playing the game so much more, because like you're going to be like, hey, that's my stuff on the table. And like, you really, your stuff is going to, I kind of get noticed versus your opponents. Like, let's say someone just kind of, I don't know, you could like put these together and like slap some colors on them real quick, and go out and play a ton of games. If you're more like into the competitive, like grinding out tons of games and stuff, which is fine. But for me personally, like I like to go and actually see other people's work and their paint schemes and everything. And so I would say it's more of like the overall, kind of like overall look to the army, and have it being some type of cohesive theme, and I guess really the paint scheme is what it boils down to.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And that's unique, because like I think some people, and they're not wrong. It's just it's a difference of, it's a viewpoint. When I think about theme of an army, the very first thing I always think of is what I'm going to base it like, as opposed to the color. And I like to use like my inspiration for this conversation, I think before, but I like to use my inspiration for what the base is going to look like, to then decide what my army is going to look like. For example, this arid world that we're working on right now, it's unique how this worked. I had the inspiration to do the tutorial for this style of world because I had envisioned a paint scheme from it for my rebels. So my rebels are being painted up right now. Jace is actually working on those, and we're doing an arid desert sort of Afghanistan French Foreign Legion themed rebels with a lot of browns and reds within the army. Now, the tutorial was / a test for what I would want my bases to look like. Mm-hmm. And then it's just ironically that it lined up with a project for a gaming company, and they had a similar world. And when I said, well, hey, I'm doing something on this, let me do this up and see how close it was, almost to a piece, it was exactly what they were looking for.
Nice. Yeah, and so if you could, your standpoint or your perspective is coming from more of like, a terrain building perspective, and then that kind of your paint scheme or your color scheme is going to be for the actual models.
Yes, it's derived first from the base, and then I determine color.
Yeah, so for me, it's like the reverse. So for me, it's almost like, okay, well, what kind of, from a basing standpoint, where is this army going to be fighting on, or, what color scheme is going to look good with them, or what's kind of different from, what other people are doing that you haven't seen before, so you have that differentiation on the table, so yeah, man, I that's really cool, because like I really like your snow theme with your droids. I can't wait to see that in person eventually. But it ties into what your paint scheme is for your models, and then what you're saying before about like the accent colors, and once more specialized units come out, you can use that color as more of a primary color for the units. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, because I have the camera set up closely, I'll grab a couple of the droids, because again, we're kind of on the theme of Gamers Grass here tonight. Let me sort of show you, because I've actually got a few more of the Gamers Grass Tufts on here. So here's I call him the laziest rocket man in the army. He's actually sitting on some cork base. So you can see here again. I wanted to do snow. I thought what was going to tie in nicely. Like droids really kind of, I feel like they kind of make them camouflage-esque. Like they try to paint them up to kind of fit the worlds. And so I thought, hey, you know what? Gray droids on a kind of a rocky snow planet, that would be, from a combat perspective, that would be decent. And then you can see here's those spiky tufts. This is the snow version here. So again, they stay nice and wispy, but at the same time, you can see like I'm pressing and beating down on this and just moving it around, and it's not coming off. Like it's still there. It withstands standardized gameplay. And a lot of people are delicate with their models, right? You touch the model from the model. Not a lot of people grab it from the base, and certainly not anybody's going to grab it from the tuft itself. Here's another one. I like to differentiate my units not by painting different squad markings, but by the basing. And so this one here is a wispy tuff on a stone. And then this one here is no significant stones, and then also no wispy tufts. So that's kind of this unit differentiating marks is just in terms of the scheme that I've done. And then you can kind of see the snow that I've added in there. Let me grab a couple others here. Okay, so I got this guy here. Again, this guy's got the wispy tuff base here, so a little bit fuller, but you can see he has no stones at all. So 3 distinct sort of looks. And when I'm talking about theme, my theme I wouldn't describe as gray. I would describe my theme as winter, where you might describe your theme based on the unit that you've painted it after, or kind of how that works. Here's my other guy. I like to refer to this guy as he's Captain Morgan, and he's got the the one leg up, and then so certainly he fits within the rocky wisp base. So these guys would be in a similar unit. So again, just very simplistic in terms of like my overall look, but I was trying to keep it to a very like monochromatic. Now that being said, there's 5 layers of paint on this individual, but nothing's standing out. I don't have any significant markings like you do. So I don't think when I say simple, I'm not trying to downplay anything, because if people do similar and they're like, well, I put a lot of work into that, I did as well, but not to stand out in the same way that your guys would. My guys on the tabletop, I think you'd agree, if you looked at these from a distance, the first thing that would stand out would be the basing scheme. And then as you got in there, you'd really see kind of like the character details kind of built out. I'll grab this not for the purposes of showing my AAT, but again, this is another tutorial that I did over on the studio. Let me just pop this tank off real quick, and then there you can see again very. A paint job, a basing scheme to match. This one's got a little bit more landscape to work from. This one's got a little bit of ice effects, but again, just from a standpoint of trying to match up my schemes, if I were to place my bases on there, they match. They go with the look. So for me, my theme's achieved over the basing. Your theme, I would very much, as you have pointed out, the primary focus will be your paint. So I'm going to slide back over just to put that into context for Matt's. As you can see, not to say that purple pink's not going to stand out, but you can definitely see the color splash is incredible, and that's really going to draw a lot of attention to Matt's army.
Yeah, let's move these guys up. My I'm having all sorts of trouble with this one flight stand. I don't know what it is. I got the 4 other ones on real easy, and
is it your last one?
It was the first one, and then the last one. Like I picked it up, and it didn't look super sturdy, so I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just kind of hold it for 10 minutes.
Okay.
But yeah, you can see I don't know how I somehow I assembled a huge army, in a very short period of time here. Not really short, but from the movie,
right.
From the clones.
I should grab a couple other real quick ones here. I'm going to show you. Couple other basing pieces. Gamers Graph seems to be the theme of the night, so I'm kind of trying to roll with that with you. Let me just bounce back and forth and bring this one up here. So yeah, so I have my Imperial Army. It's done up with these sort of jungle-esque bases. So you can see that I've actually got these sort of vines creeping around the bottom, and I use cast stone to kind of do a temple base. And so these were done up to those worlds tables that we did with the stone ruins.
Oh, nice.
These guys were really themed up to go with that. So you can see some are more broken stone. Like these guys, for example, have the broken stone and then the gamer's grass. I'm using the bushy tufts as well as the plain ones. And then some of my other guys are just done up like full slate bases on the bottom. You can see I've just added that piece, and then this guy's got a vine creeping up and actually crawling over his leg. I just sort of made them almost like kind of like a carnivorous plant type thing, so they're evasive. It's wrapping around his foot on the front here, and so I just really think you can have a ton of fun not only on the paint schemes, but then also carrying that right over into your base. So I think that it's a true form hobby where you're not done when you're done painting your models, and likewise you're not just done when you're done putting a base on them. So, and you can see Matt's army there in the background, taking shape much different than it started, and he's got all that color splash. So the blues accenting quite nicely with that. So that pink purple, to me, when it blends together, it actually starts to give more of a blue hue underneath the pink than a purple, because it's playing off your blue color.
Yeah, and there's also like bluish purple within like the bottom part of the tuft too.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like that
Yeah.
When I see that it actually takes away from the pink in the sense that it dilutes it a little bit.
Yep.
And actually makes it more of a glow effect. When it's up close, I can see pink. When it's away though, I start to see that more of a glow effect.
Yeah. This guy.
So that's really fun.
I want to stand up.
I ended up what I did with my flight stands for the commandos, Matt, is I actually took a knife and I actually shaved down the tip so that it fit in a little bit tighter, so I could actually get a little bit more glue around the plastic that goes into the model. Now I also I actually used a pin vise and actually drilled into my models as opposed to using the plastic pieces.
Yeah, I mean the 4 other ones were fine. This one's just giving me trouble for some reason.
Well, you are free to swear. So.
Yeah. Maybe I'll kind of drill into this a little bit with my hobby knife.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. Like I said, I just shaved down the back a little bit just to give it a little bit more room for me to get my little bit of glue in. Low battery warning on that, not a problem. I can still work for a while. Let Matt do that. I'm gonna just come and work a little bit more on the camera. Tip this down and get you guys right. I'm gonna try to get you guys right in full action shots here. See how close I can get you guys. There you go. And so I don't poke my knife into every stone. Some stones I just leave. I just get them on the side because I'm just trying to create that chewed up look here, then more flat stone there. So I'm really trying to, every piece I'm doing on here, I'm really just trying to make the pattern as non-uniform as possible. That's kind of a really important piece, kind of a theme I've carried through this. So, in speaking about theme, just... there's lots of ways to theme stuff up. So basically, I think one of the most important thing is to pick a few elements that you want to accent and highlight throughout a project, or a paint scheme, or a basing scheme, or a building, and then you really want to carry that feature through. It'd be much like, people like who have a like, in their home. Maybe they have like my mom loves owls, so like, not to say their house looks like an owl, but there's owls in places. Like, it's just something she likes. So it's kind of a theme that she has. I'm sure everyone has a grandparent or somebody that they know who kind of has that, that theme that they carry through, many aspects of their either homes or lives, or, and it's different than a collection. Like, a collection is different than theming. So like, I collect Legion, but I don't theme every Legion army the same. And I build projects, but every project doesn't have the same theme. Each one takes on its own little characteristics. You must have had a grandparent or a family member, Matt, who's got some sort of eclectic taste in something. My grandmother collected spoons.
Yeah,
spoons everywhere.
My aunts had an antique shop, so like her house, and it was like, wow, like all sorts of cool old stuff everywhere.
Right.
I can remember. I think I'm just gonna try to glue this guy, and however he's positioned, he's gonna be positioned. It's like...
you would not be the first person who has said that about arcs. They're like, I just glued them, and however they like dried up and angled, that's how they were. Jace was saying that he like glued a bunch of his guys like without flight stands, and like so they're all like angles and leans on the base, like just doing all kinds of weird sort of poses.
Yeah, I got a squad like that with 2 of them in there. What I kind of want to do is want to somehow model on like a ascension cable, like they're ziplining down.
Oh, did you hear me talking about that? Not saying that you copied me, but did you hear me going on about my ideas about how to do that on the academy?
No, I did not actually.
Oh, okay. Well, we're of one mind then. So, what I was saying is I also want to do that. So I think the best way to do it is if you just took some like maybe like 10 or 12 gauge wire, and twisted it up on the base so that you have a contact point. And then run your wire up from your base. And then what you could do is you could pin, I happen to have a blade here, a drill bit, which has got some glue on it, but let me just trim that off real quick. But if you were to then actually glue right through or drill right through the hand or wherever you wanted the hold to be, then you run your wire straight up through your hand. And so it looks like the arc's coming down. And then the wire itself would be stiff enough to be upright. It'd be very similar to a flight stand in property. And you could wrap a bit of the cable around like one of the feet, just because that's typically what they might use as a braking mechanism. And then your model will be supported by the wire hooked onto the foot and then through the hand. So you have multiple contact points as well. And then you could run your wire up past the arc's head a little bit. And then you'd actually have a piece that you could actually grab and move your model around with.
Yeah, like mine are already glued on the base. So like I was thinking about having like, I don't know, like wire or like rope kind of like up like you were saying, but then also like they just landed on the ground from like, having the cables, like they just went down a cliff or something.
Right. So you'd have your guys maybe all secure more to the ground.
Yeah.
That seems too easy. That seems not nearly as frustrating enough for me.
Remember, I'm more about convenience here, and I'm like,
yeah.
I glued these guys down to the base, and this is like in my mind, kind of like, wow, they kind of look like Fives and Echo, like on the cover of the box. How can I, make that look even cooler with some rope?
Well, I'll tell you what, Matt. I think that right there seems like a nice challenge for me for next week's hobby stream.
Yeah, I like this. I like that.
Then you can just, either not do what I did, as me being the negative example, or you can copy exactly what I did or similar.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
I mean, there's no need to be a pioneer around here when you got a guy like me willing to be foolish and
Oh
try.
yeah, I'll definitely plagiarize your work. Why not?
Here we go. Um, I don't know if I got it. I thought I had my commandos around here somewhere. I was going to show you that paint scheme. Whatever. I'll slide you over on camera. I'll grab them just because typically our hobby streams are more show and tells than anything else. So I'm going to slide over to Matt here for a second. There we go. Oh, that's looking great.
Yeah, I am pumped about this.
I
Yeah, putting tufts on bases is not the most exciting, like, hobby technique type of thing, especially when I don't even have to glue anything. But these are making the models look real nice. I'm happy with them.
All right. I've slid back over here.
So how many people do we have in chat? Like 3?
It's kind of fluctuated. It's been it's down low now, but yeah, it's kind of in and out. But that's typical hobby chat. We go late, and people usually check them out later. So we'll have to up our crowd. We'll do a little bit more pre-advertising as we get into more swing of things here. There's been a few new patrons added lately, so that's always handy. Let me slide back over. Okay, so first off, I wanted to show you this. So B2s, I think are going to be simplistic to color, but I got this color that is in the Vallejo model range. In the Vallejo metal range, and it's called Burnt Iron. And man, I actually super love this. Is 100% primer coat.
Wow. It's really shiny.
Yeah, exactly. I thought, and you know what? And it's actually more of a matte finish, but it picks up the light because you can see here it's not like super shiny everywhere.
Yeah.
It picks up light and it gives you that real super, like, I don't need to do any like real accent on the highlights here because it just sort of like picks that up naturally.
Yeah.
And it's not a gloss coat by any means. Like you can see here, I'll bring this into my fingers. Like you can see it's not like, it's like there's my ring and it's not nearly as shiny as that.
Yeah.
It's just I'm like impressed with how that went down. So I really like that. Now these, like I said, it's just a primer coat. There's nothing else on that. But so yeah, here's the guys. You can see them a little bit nicer too now that they're not plastic. Those poses that I was doing. This was my Ninja Kick guy.
Nice.
So he's just doing that, and then I'm all about the double gun pose. So this was the flying. There he is.
Oh, so you wrap your flight stand while you're painting. Yeah.
Exactly.
I was thinking about doing that, and then what I did, I ended up just gluing them after, and then doing like poster putty on a paint pot.
Right.
Which is a little annoying, but you don't have to wrap everything, so you have 2 options.
It's not difficult to wrap it, but honestly, I do that just because these guys are so fragile and it's really hard for me I wanted to have them in the pose so I can get in around the model. Now this guy here is the only guy I had to reglue one of my guys too, so that's why he's not wrapped. But I wanted to show you because I talked about this last week that I was going to do that, but you can see the shield, and then do you see the sort of the bubbling on there?
Yeah.
That's where I painted a couple coats of the chipping medium. And so then I painted that on, let it dry, painted another coat, let it dry, and then I just airbrushed over it. So when I go to paint this, what I'm actually going to be able to do is I just popped the bubble off real quick there, so you can see that. See where I popped that bubble off?
Yeah.
That's actually just going to start exposing the yellow. So then it'll be right down to back to the color. So now I'm going to frost my shields up with a little bit of overspray of white gray, just because I want mine to be frosted like they were, frozen.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what
Nice.
yeah, exactly what I'm doing there. So now this is the scheme that I'm going with. It's not finished, but that is. Let me see if I can get that in there and then actually get it to pick up in the light. Yeah, there we go. So just that subtle rusty orange.
Oh, nice.
And again, I'm going with the gray. It's got several layers. It's airbrushed for the highlights, but I'm trying to create something that's within color scheme, but at the same time like a subtle difference. Like I don't want to confuse from a distance what's a B1 and what's a commando, and so they're fitting in the same realm. Now I really think that this guy is going to start popping once I get, because you can see the color difference. Now the gray that's on here is actually the same gray that I start these guys with. It's just the highlighting gets this up, but really honestly, when you add white to your base, it just starts to artificially tone everything to be on the lighter scale.
Yeah.
So I think once these guys get the white on the base, it'll really start to change the tone. I'll actually do an overspray of white gray on the lower sides of the legs, as well as I like to frost the shoulders and the top of the head. And just so that when you're looking from above, you kind of get that same sort of frosted look. And then when you're looking from the side, it looks more like a spray up from the snow that he's running through, or kind of diving over. And the nice thing about these guys not occupying the bottom base is I'm actually able to use a little bit of taller material on the bases to bring up and sort of mitigate the distance between the top of the flight stand and where my guys are, because these guys are exceptionally tall, because unlike your arcs are kind of coming like halfway down the flight stand.
Yeah.
Very similar to like this guy here. But this guy here is like literally diving and he's at the top of the flight stand. So I created all my guys to be at various levels. So from running to diving over. So when you put them in tandem, like this guy looks like he's jumping over this guy who's running. This guy is literally diving over the top of this guy who's running. So when I have them together, it's got that cool,
Like the
that side.
Avengers.
Exactly. And then same thing, like, right, coming from the start, this guy's diving in from the side, this guy's diving in from there, this guy's running straight at you. So you got that real cool look. So again, just another way to kind of theme up. My guys are themed in terms of their poses and the color and the bases, much like you're trying to create the the ascension cable look and the jetpack look.
Yeah, man. I mean, I pretty much accomplished what I wanted to accomplish tonight with these. I'm pumped.
Well, that hardly seems fair. I barely got. I did too much showing, not enough working. But honestly, that's what it's about anyway. We're here. You're not here for a tutorial. You're here to kind of catch up on basically our week in hobbying. What we're working on. It's always organic. It's what we're working on in the moment.
Oh yeah.
So my wife was like, I want to do a little bit of work tonight.
Yeah, man. I'm hoping I'll be able to bring these to LVO, and the LVO actually happens, but we'll see.
What's your take on that? What do you think? I'm not. I like to be, but I'm not optimistic. And even if it is, there's almost a 0% chance that the Canadian border will be open to a point where we're not required to quarantine upon arrival home.
Yeah,
which for me means I can't go.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was much more optimistic a few months ago, and now as it's getting closer and things haven't really improved too much overall, I'm kind of skeptical. And then even if it does go down, like I'm thinking, do I even really want to go, and what is it going to be like? And you're not going to really be able to enjoy Vegas like you normally would and stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a shame because like are we gonna go like over a year without a major tournaments and sort of miss all that? Like that's just it seems. I mean, we got a good community. We got a great community. So like the game's still going,
Yeah.
but I wonder about the longevity of games when people just can't play. Like if you can't play a game, then it's really tough to stay into it.
Yeah.
And then in which case, like if the only part you have is the hobby, then perhaps there's other avenues to approach. And I don't want to lose people because of that. I mean, it's really a first world problem. So don't get me wrong. There's much more important things. However, just in the context of our conversation and what we're talking about, it is detrimental to our community. I would hope not. Like it's a real test of resiliency, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are just like, really wanting to play, and it's like, unless you're, I guess, you have a setup at home, and like you guys are doing Friday night fights and stuff, and that kind of stuff. I mean, my local store, recently opened, and they put in all sorts of safeguards and stuff. They upgraded the like the filtration systems and the HVAC and everything, and so you feel more comfortable to be able to go, and you schedule a time to have a table reserved and everything. So that's all cool and everything, but having a big event where there's 100+ players like in a room, like I just don't know how that's going to happen anytime soon in a safe
Right.
manner.
Yeah, and you would hope it would be, and certainly would want to put anybody at risk. It's not worth it over a game for sure. And I've got
Yeah.
lots of considerations. Like I work in a school, so I'm like hypersensitive to pretty much everything COVID related, and I have to be, and I want to be, because you got a lot of souls that you're responsible for every day. So, and I wouldn't want to do anything, even in my own world that would compromise any of that. I got a baby, small baby, so it's also important. But yeah, I mean, I also obviously I'm well invested in this game as you are, both time, money, and just sort of passion wise, and we ultimately do want to play and test our skill against our fellow Legion players.
Yeah, I mean, so like, if LVO is not, gonna happen or whatever, the next tournament is then Adepticon, really, right? And so like it's almost like, worlds re repeated in a way, like a whole year later, right?
Here's the way I look at it. It's almost like we did a little bit of like a time
Oh
warp
my
where it's
God,
like
yeah, you're
we
absolutely right.
missed everything, so the reset button gets hit, and it's like 2020 Legion tournament wise never happened, and so we're back around. It's full circle, and now we're just doing it again. It's like no need to worry about what you missed. We're back there again. This is the new beginning, the new start. So
It's funny you say that, because in my mind, like, I think that's more of the most probable scenario, versus anything within the first, because that's at the end of March, right? So,
yeah.
I just, in the first quarter of next year, I just really find it hard to have like a big event with people inside and everything. So,
Right.
I don't know. It's it's too early to really tell, but as it gets closer, it's like, wow, it's already halfway through March or October, and it's like wow, it's like Halloween. Like, is Halloween gonna happen? What are the kids gonna have to stay home and whatever else, and then it's gonna be Thanksgiving, and then it's like, oh my God, New Year's, and then
I
LBO.
think I think Halloween's a no. Like this will be Halloween number 2 for us. But like we're not doing anything, and honestly, I'm not that I'm trying to like I'm not a cheapskate. Like I'm not trying to like be like, oh, we're not giving candy out, like as like we got this excuse. But honestly, I'm secretly in my own head. I'm kind of trying to discourage like that from happening. Like I don't want to be a source where kids are coming to your home, because honestly, I would much, if I had a choice, I'd much prefer people stay home and miss it. Not because, again, you're trying to take anything away from kids, but like it's not a requirement. We can celebrate, and kids can get candy in other ways, and I know it's maybe controversial, but I'm trying not to encourage a lot of things that are bringing people out.
Yeah.
And I know I know kids and parents are really encouraging kids to be safe. I see it every day. But there is people who just aren't, as sad as it is to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so, I mean, my hope is if you do it as safely as possible, and I'm sure people can do it. But I'm not partaking myself this year. I'm not in giving, and not in taking the baby around. So
this is how this guy wants to be. By the way, this is like he's just like, hey, I'm flying by.
Let me just
like this and have him dry.
Okay, let me just put you up on here so I can, because I can see it full scan. Okay. Oh yeah, there you go. He's kind of got the Astro Boy lean going.
I mean, he just doesn't want to stay in the other position. So
right.
I mean, I might just let it set like this and see what happens.
I mean, I often say that in terrain making too, right? Like, it's something just not going to work, or like a material doesn't react the way you want it to, but then you discover like, yeah, that doesn't actually look too bad, or like, geez, I never even thought about that finish before, and like, those little happy accidents. Hey, if the pose won't work, but it comes out working for you, then just pretend like that's what you meant to do.
Yeah, he's gonna be like that. He's boom, and we'll see if it dries overnight, and if it breaks off tomorrow, then
it wasn't meant to be.
Pose. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't meant to be.
But I kind of like it because he's kind of like flying by and then just crossing his arm over to shoot at someone.
Yeah,
like nonchalantly, like, hey, I'm about to jump over this wall. Peace.
Yeah. It's like, hey, Captain, do you mind if I hold my blaster like this?
Yeah.
Just trying to do a little bit of clone showboating. No, it's not a problem. I like it.
Yeah, man. So I will. I'll try to put up some pictures in my booth. Maybe tomorrow morning or something. And
yeah, I'll share them. Share them out. What I'm gonna do, Matt? I'm gonna go over. I'll just go over to the Train Studio page. I'll just give you posting rights on there, so you don't have to like send them to me. You can just go throw them up in there.
Oh, cool.
Easier than having to send them to me, and then that way, whenever you get them done, then there's no lag on that, because I know people always love seeing the photos of the work. So I got I've been trying to post a few photos as much as I can of this in there as well, but I'm gonna do this month. The pre-video is gonna be I always do like a monthly recap, or try to do a monthly recap of all the projects going on. So I'm gonna catch everyone up onto this. I think Jace is due to come down and paint the interior as soon as I finish it, so I'm kind of not really rushing, but I'm also trying to be diligent in getting a little bit of work done every night, so I can get this thing done. I can only lay brick for like a couple hours at a time before my eyes start going wonky, and I'm just need a pattern break from it. But I'll work for a few more minutes. If you're okay to chat for a few, we'll get up to that 2 hour mark if you got some more minutes in you.
Yeah.
And then I'll sure. Yep. And then I'll
here a little bit myself.
We'll give you guys a show. I'm gonna be half done this wall here within a few minutes, so that's gonna be a nice spot. I wanted to show you guys the trim job that I'm gonna do on this, so you guys can sort of see how it's gonna close off. It's looks a lot better when you start fleshing it out with the brick. I'll tell you that. That's for sure. So let me swap over here. I'll put my camera back up so you guys can see where I'm at.
So I'm staring at like 4.5 boxes of these Tufts that are remaining. I ordered 6 because I didn't know, how much I need, or like, how much, because I'm sure a lot more stuff's going to come out, so I don't have to buy anymore. But
I think you'll be set. I think you'll be
yeah, I mean,
set.
I'm surprised with how far, because I loaded these up pretty good, and like I only went through 1.5, so I probably laid down 100 pieces then.
And so, how many tufts did you do roughly per base?
I'd
So we're
say
just gonna.
roughly around 2, because some of them have 3 if they're smaller, but since they're the wild pattern, you're getting some pretty decent coverage on the base, with the
Right.
different shapes and stuff. So, from other tufts that I've bought in the past, you'd probably have to put down, I don't know, like maybe 3 to 5, to get this similar type of coverage, depending on, the pattern that you have.
Right.
So these were deceptively, more than 70, in my opinion, from like a coverage standpoint.
Yeah. I have, I don't even know how many boxes of those, but man, I just love mixing and blending, and I actually paint out some of mine as well. Just like I'll add a subtle like hue difference, just to create. I don't like that one there. Just to create a little bit of a differentiation in that. So, like with the winter ones, for example, they come nicely frosted, and they look really good. But what I do is I go in and I just use a little bit of my white gray, and I just sort of dust here and there just to create a little bit more, even more of a differentiation. So they actually paint up incredibly well too. So I was looking for a certain blue when I was doing the Felucia table, and so what I did is I just took multiple packs of the Tufts, and I just laid down 2 or 3 in a row, and I went really dark on one, and I just sort of created a gradient from like one package to the end of the third package, and so I created this blue gradient, and then I had 3 real subtle hues of blue, like decreasing in terms of the vibrancy, and then I was able to kind of put them all over, and it created a really cool look. So that even within the table, it wasn't like every section looked the same in terms of color. It had a nice natural variation that you would tend to see more in nature. So
Cool, man. That's yeah, that Felicia
just
table was awesome.
just something to because when you work with a material and you're trying to make it look unique, and the material's like store bought and you don't adjust it at all, not to suggest that it can't be cool, but it after a while, or given if it's over a large area, it just starts to look a little bit monochromatic, a little bit bland, even if it's not monochromatic in the sense that it has no tone to it, but like, you know what I mean, like it just starts to look a little bit too uniform. You took something that you wanted to make unique, and then it just ended up looking uniform because you used it so much.
Yeah.
So on a table,
Oh, on a
that's
table for sure. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It ends up now with models. It's different because you space them out. There's more of a natural tendency to have models spaced out, and they're not all clustered together, except if you're doing a display board, which then in which case I think it actually lends quite nicely. But on a table, it's one of the considerations that I'm like, oh, geez, okay, how do I modify this material so that it is a little bit unique? And that's always an important quality for me too. So sometimes store bought materials are just your starting point, and you still got to put a little bit of elbow grease into them to get them looking right.
Yeah, man. Now I'm pumped to get these ATRTs done, because I don't have any vehicles completed for this army yet, and I haven't built my gap
Barks.
My whatchamacallit.
Gav tank.
No, the
Your saber
tank. That's the one. I was thinking Gav tank, but I'm like, wait, that's Empire.
Yeah.
Saber tank. I haven't built that yet.
Oh, okay.
I just haven't gotten around to it. But yeah, like I'm more excited about running the ATRTs than the Saber tank for some reason. I don't know.
Naked ATRTs are going to be good.
Yeah, like you could. I mean, I know you guys were talking on the show and everything, but like, you could fire support into them, which is cool.
Yep.
I mean, you can fire support into a saber tank too, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, 17 dice. It's really good.
Yeah.
17 dice, at least 4 aims. It tends to do a little damage.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I got. I'm gonna just do this real top trim piece just to kind of show you, but
Nice.
yeah, I mean, I think you'll agree that side A and side B look much different, and
Yeah.
starting to look like a little bit of something. And the further back you go, I think the further the pattern starts to really kind of show and not show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I can't wait to see this totally finished. It's gonna look fantastic.
All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and add these small trim pieces in, and then we'll call that a show. So for this, what I'm doing is I'm just using the full squares. This is effectively three bricks, and instead of cutting the lines in, it's stayed as a uniform size. So for this, what I'm doing is this is my standardized size. I really started with these squares, and then I just started cutting them down and down into smaller and smaller pieces, much like I did with the floor pattern. And then that way, when you're building these out, everything sort of aligns nicely. It's 3 bricks to 1 square, so when I pop these in, I don't have like the awkward like half square or anything like that, or have to cut a brick in half or anything like that. The only time I cut a brick in half is right at the top of these, where these trim pieces sort of match up to the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of, these are probably a little too thin. I might actually pop them out a bit more, just because there's a bit too much shadow there. But I just transition a little bit there. This is beveled in. So all right, so I'm just gonna go and saturate these pieces real quick. And then my trim piece, I just pop in here, and what it does, it fits in between the brick and the wood, and I just squeeze them in, slide it over, and when it comes out, it looks like this is what the finished wall looks like there. So at the top, you can see that sort of ledge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what basically I'm just creating there. This is the back, and this is the front. So these pieces get married up. If you can imagine, the building is like so, and then that whole idea of being able to look in through these gables, and through that you're gonna see the rafters, and so the roof's gonna lift off with the rafters, and then you'll actually be able to look through the ends and see inside the building as well.
Nice.
Yeah, just something a little bit fun. These pieces are going to be used for gaming demos, as well as product shots, is my understanding. So the reason that we want to make sure that we have lots of detail is because you never know what angle you're going to want to capture, and you don't want to have a part of a model that you're using for a product shot not have detail. Like there's no real aspect of it that you don't want to have fully detailed as the next, because in a photo that's going to be that part's going to stand out the most. And honestly, you want the models to be the focal point always, but you want to have a really nice dynamic backdrop. At least that's my understanding and interpretation of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially if you're doing it for a product release or whatever. Yeah, it's got to be proper.
All right, one more after this, and then I will have enough to show you guys. And then we'll reach our 2-hour mark, and we'll close off. We'll jump back on the screen, and we'll go. I'm just gonna take a piece of foam and clean up the excess. There we go. Straighten these out a little bit. And the nice thing about these two, this glue, like I just leave it overnight, and then the walls stiffen right up, and they become very durable. And this this piece that I showed you here, the cool thing about it, Matt, is the Mod Podge layer that we add. I actually add 2 coats, and so you can see here. I'm gonna press in, and you guys can tell I'm pressing because you can see my fingertips changing color.
Yeah.
And nothing.
Wow.
So it actually builds up a really resilient finish, and it's scratch proof as well. I'll run my fingernail over it, and so you can see I'm not even scratching into the foam. So it's not taking the paint off. It's not doing anything. This has actually just been matte varnished over the top, and because you seal it, I can actually aerosol spray over this as well, and it doesn't eat or erode any of the foam either. Yeah, so it's really cool. So we show you all that in the sort of the how-to pieces, but so there you go. That's kind of there's the the finish layer, the trim layer, if you will, creating a little bit of a three-dimensional piece to that. It's going to accent nicely with the wood, and then accenting nicely with the rest of the walls that we've got in the works. So that's my piece. We'll give you one more slide over to Matt here so we can show
Let me
Matt's fantastic looking army. While Matt's doing that, I'm actually going to jump back to the face cam. That looks really awesome. Yeah, let's give him a good pan there like that.
Yeah, I gotta finish these ATRTs.
Yeah, that looks.
They're gonna look awesome when they're done, and then with the saber tank behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where's your Rex at?
Where is Rex? He's right here.
Oh yes, yeah. Okay, there he is. Yeah.
He
just blends in so well.
I know, right?
It's fantastic.
You couldn't pick him out there right out the gate.
No.
What I was thinking about doing is with some of the extra ARC troopers I have is pretty much make like a Rex on a jetpack type of thing,
right. Mm-hmm.
And use the non-helmeted with the blonde haircut thing for him on that. Right. So you definitely know it's him type of thing.
Nice. You should definitely take a couple phase 2s with the crest, trim down some gamer's grass, and do some like wicked psychedelic mohawk trim accoutrements. That would look
that's would funny. Look
super slick. Yeah, they just kind of scream that with the crest. When I seen that color splash, I'm like, oh, that'd be interesting. Are you going to do an R2 up for this unit or this army? Oh, there he is. Okay, good. I think the R2 on a jetpack or on a flight stand is cool.
Yeah. If I knew that they were coming out before I did it, I think I would have considered it. But
I mean, you could always just pick up another crash escape pod.
That's true. I could do that, and I'll have 2 awesome terrain pieces that sit in the box for a while.
I mean, yeah, but you didn't know you buy the crashed escape pod and R2 comes with it.
Yeah.
It's really kind of what it's for here. So I'm just gonna jump back on face cam and just say thanks to our folks that are gonna pop through, check our video out in the future. It's perfectly fine if you don't catch us live. It's just me and Matt carrying on, prattling on about our hobby worlds and our hobby lives. So hopefully you guys at least got something tonight. Matt showed you a bunch of work with the gamer's grass, kind of how easy it is and how quickly. I mean, he based out an army here in under 2 hours. I showed you that brick lane is tedious and time consuming and not fun, and it's not for the faint. It's not for the faint of heart. That's for sure. But nonetheless, really just showing you what you can do. This is just insulation foam purchased at a hardware store that you can just cut and shape into some other world. So a lot of people were commenting that they felt it was a Friendly Giant inspired. So if you if you're familiar with that show, children's show. I think it was even before I was a child, but I think the Friendly Giant is the guy who goes look up, look up, look way up, and he's got those sort of like model rocking chairs and things that he positions around the fire. So that was a piece that shared. It wasn't the inspiration for it, but hey, if that's what you were reminded of, no problem. I'm perfectly fine with that. So Matt and I also talked a little bit about Gamers Grass in terms of how they can really help theme some bases out. So you see his Imbara themed bases, and then I was showing you some snow and some jungle bases as well. Next week, what's your plan next week, Matt? What are you going to be at? You going to be at those RTs or?
Yeah, I think next week's going to be the RTs and maybe the Saber Tank. I also have been working on my vital assets stuff, and
oh, nice.
I hopefully I'll have my compressor situation figured out by then. I have a backup one, so that's fine. But so what I was thinking, what I started to do is I primed black, and then I also primed like the top, this like silver primer from Vallejo.
Okay.
And I'm gonna put a wash over it, and then what I want to do is actually do like blue and red ink to like tint the mines and the bomb carts and stuff.
Oh.
So you have like the blue player objectives and the red player objectives.
Nice choice.
And have it like this like metallic, blue and red kind of thing going on.
That is a really good idea. I like that. I like that idea. I didn't realize I got into a conversation today in the group chat. I think you might have seen that. I didn't realize that vital assets is so hard to acquire.
I didn't realize that either. I mean, I just like I haven't been pushing to like build them or whatever because obviously we haven't been playing. So
right.
I haven't been. But yeah, like I didn't realize it was short supplied either.
Yeah, I mean that's unique. I'm gonna look at some more Canadian suppliers here and just to see if I can't snatch up a few for a few of our friends in the group chats that can't acquire them. So yeah, it's just weird how those sort of supply things. Like you have RTs. Like I just got a message yesterday because we haven't actually got RTs or STAPs at Canadian suppliers, and so we just received them yesterday. So I didn't run out and grab mine. I got 3 STAPs and 2 RTs to pick up. But yeah, so that September 22nd release date or 9th release date, whatever the release date on it, we just literally received them now. So
yeah, there's all sorts of issues. I mean, I'm assuming most of it's COVID related stuff.
It's not even an I'm not even convinced that it's an FFG thing. Like I'm certain if they could, they would have things coming out at equal distribution in even amounts and everyone getting what they need to. But I think you proved a point with, the Gamers Grass coming from Portugal, not an FFG company. Me getting a package from Colorado, not an FFG deal. Like there is just issues in the postal system in general. So, I mean, I think it's unfair to gang up on them about all of it. We get things when we get it. And honestly, what do I care if I have to wait a few weeks? I'm not painting it. I'm not playing. Well, I mean, we could play here, but for the most part, as you've indicated, I mean, if you had to wait a week or you don't get them painted up, it's not putting you back in terms of your gaming. You just aren't doing it, as most people aren't. So
yeah, I mean, it is, it can be frustrating, but it's like you'll get them when you get them. It's like there's no, there's no like huge tournament you're gonna miss out on and be like, oh my god, I can't run the unit that I want to or whatever.
I mean, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna go out on a limb and probably guess. I know I'm not even gonna tell you how much I have, but you probably have some unpainted plastic somewhere that if you needed to have something else to work on for a week, you could do it.
Oh, 100%. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's just a thing. I think it's just something that we take for granted. We can complain about it, so therefore we will. I'm no exception to that. I just have to catch myself sometimes and be like, what is the point? I try not to be the things that I don't like. So just steering away from that as best I can. So I got them. I got a call yesterday, and I didn't go get them today. So like obviously I wasn't that eager, and I'll get them in the next coming days here. So really the only thing we ever press for is unboxings, and we've already talked about that. So But look for that in the future from us for sure. Hopefully you guys come back next week. Hobby Hangout is always fun, whether we have a big crowd or not. It's irrelevant. Matt and I enjoy it, and it does keep us pretty honest in terms of trying to get things done. Hopefully we'll do a bit of advertising here in the future and get hopefully get a big crowd. I didn't really drop it on Legion Academy this week, which I need to. I got to make sure. And then if I can highlight what we're working on, hopefully that will have some people sliding over, especially if you're working on RTs. I will make a point to work on droids next week so we can make it a 100% Legion. Matt will paint, I'll paint. You can see who's a better painter. Obviously, it's me. And we'll have some laughs and some good combo next week. So thanks, Matt. Always appreciate you hanging out with me. And we'll catch you guys next week. Friday night fight this week. I think I'm playing. We're gonna play some droids, hopefully, and that should be a good time. I don't know who I'm playing yet, but again, doesn't matter because it's just gonna be fun. If it's Jace, he may play Keith if they're able to both come out. But I'm eager to play this week. I missed my game last week and I didn't get a chance to be out there. And usually I'm okay with it, but I try not to go 2 weeks in a row now without playing. Now that we are moving around a little bit, so and I also, Matt, I look forward to hearing about your game next week. So who are you playing? Is it anybody we would know or?
I think he's been on the chat a few times. His name's Rob. So
okay,
yeah, we'll see. He plays CIS, so it should be pretty fun.
And you guys are already friends, correct?
Oh yeah.
Good, because you're playing clones and you won't be afterwards, so it's just like that weird awkwardness of when you're losing friends when you're playing clones. So
yeah, right.
just take it easy on them, and everything will be fine. So awesome.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So we'll see.
All right, Matt. Well, thanks a lot, and I'll catch you guys all next week.
Yeah, have a good night.
Cheers.